Hello and welcome to the Redefining Spirituality podcast. My name is Brendan Van Witchen and I'm your host. There's a lot to kind of talk about in this episode. I kind of want to get stuck into a bit of manifestation talk because I feel it's an important topic. But to kind of start things off, it's been a very interesting few days or a week, let's call it. Last week on Thursday evening, essentially what happened was Esoteric Festival got cancelled at the very last minute. This was a pretty big deal. Basically, Esoteric Festival is one of the largest electronic music and arts festivals in Australia, typically pulling about 10,000 or more people annually, and it got cancelled at the very last minute due to a permit not being approved to do with the health and safety of some certain structures that had been made at the on the grounds. Now, this was very interesting because, as far as I know, there were a lot of safety regulations that were passed for a long time. Esoteric Festival's been running for, I believe, 8 years, or 6 to 8 years, growing in size all the time. People travel from all over the world to come to it, all over Australia to come to it, and it's a very exciting thing for many, many people. There are lots of workshops that are held, lots of market stalls, a lot of beautiful connection that goes on at this festival, along with amazing artists, DJs that fly from all over the world to do this as well. And yeah, basically they cancelled it Thursday evening after people were waiting in line for about 8 hours in their cars in 30 plus degree heat, suffering heat stroke and all other kinds of things. And at the very last minute, they had it cancelled on them due to this particular permit being not passing, which was very interesting because, it had been, they planned this festival for months. The stages are enormous. They have moving parts on them. There's incredible light shows. This is, an enormous thing. I believe I read somewhere that there were, there's $15 million or more invested into this festival ahead of time. And, it's been financially devastating for everyone because, the amount of money that was invested into this, all the people who, had flown over or traveled from afar, all of the different market stall owners or the food trucks or any of that, who have ordered, perishables and stock, expecting to, sell a lot of their product to the 10,000 people that show up. They've just been completely rorted financially, not to mention the town of Donald where it's hosted. All of the supermarkets would have invested in a lot of stock because they're expecting a lot of people coming through to sell it, which has just, kind of ruined them financially as well. It's been a very devastating thing to happen. And, in Australia, like over the last, 5 to 10 years, there's been a lot of festivals cancelled, a lot of dodgy stuff going on, like business-wise. And it's really not good. And it really sets a really, a pretense for other festivals to possibly be cancelled. A lot of people are kind of really sick of this happening. And, I believe that there was... It's yet to be announced, but I believe there was some kind of foul play involved with this, personally, simply because of like simply the amount of people who are going, like the amount of investment that was already in it. You wouldn't just simply cancel this. Like you would work together, you would find a way, and everyone would put together as a community to make sure that everything goes to plan, so that so many people aren't out of pocket. Like it's economically damaging to the state, really. And, not to get too into the conspiracies of things, but, if you're looking at things from terms of health and spirituality, as I mentioned on the previous episode, a very large pretense for this show is directly based upon health. Spirituality, spiritual health, questioning spirituality, questioning the new health methods that are coming out and finding, new answers and questioning things so that we can all grow as a species and as people. And, with this festival, it's very, very healing place. There are a lot of workshops that go into play. There's a lot of like natural medicines, a lot of spirituality. It's very, very community and spiritually based. A very community and spiritually based place. And so the actual, the theme for this Esoteric festival was called Psychedelic Circus. And so I think that already brews quite a few red flags for people who aren't, necessarily on board with natural medicines, who are still kind of in the matrix, let's call it. And, given that, Big Pharma is the biggest industry out there, it's all tied into a lot of our media, the people who, run the general gist of Western civilization is all tied into these same kind of businesses and streams of revenue. And given that the pharmaceutical industry is one of the largest industries out there in the world, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. As just a general business owner, the entire purpose of starting a business or running a business or a corporation is to earn money and to continuously earn more money. So when it comes to the pharmacies and the pharmaceutical industry, it's been proven time and time again that their products are not necessarily designed to heal people. It's to keep them as returning customers. That's why you increase how much milligrams of these drugs that you take. That's why we go to therapy and we get labels put on us for, maybe you've been through some bad shit in your life and you never quite dealt with the trauma of it. And this has kind of, snowballed into a whole bunch of issues in your life. You haven't taken care of yourself in the certain ways. You haven't sought the proper help that you've needed for the certain situation that you've been through. You've developed poor habits. You've stopped taking care of yourself. You're not eating properly. You're not exercising. You're not going outside. You're hanging around with bad people. You're drinking more. You're doing all these things, and this has created a very low vibrational frequency within your aura or your energy. And when you start having these low frequencies in your aura and your energy, you start manifesting, poor mental health. And poor mental health is a reflection of your physical health, and they feed one another. So if you have poor mental health, your physical health is going to go downhill. If you have poor physical health, your mental health is going to go downhill. And, these are the people that the pharmaceutical industry prey on. They prey on people who don't know the answer, who believe that taking a bunch of chemicals mixed together into a pill and drinking that will somehow fix their life, whereas that is the furthest thing from the truth. Personally, for me, I don't touch any Western medicine. The only thing I will ever touch is possibly like a headache tablet, but only in the situation where if I'm in a situation where I can't go and rest or something, like if I'm still climbing a tree for work or having to do some heavy labor and my head is killing me, I'll take, Advil or something like that to help me get through the situation. But at any other time, if I've got a headache or anything like that, I know that it's because I'm either super tired and need rest, got heat stroke, or I'm super stressed out and I need to go meditate and figure out what the issue is. A headache is simply your mind trying to take your attention to something that you need to pay attention to, or, making you try to slow down. That's what it is. That's simply what it is. And, as I said, like people who have serious issues, who struggle with depression and anxiety, these are their demographic. These are the people who need the help the most. And, they're quite often lured into going to, psychologists and therapists, which I'm not saying that all psychologists and therapists are bad, but a lot of their jobs are to tell you what's wrong with you and to put a label on you and tell you what you are and put you into this little box and take down all the different things that are wrong with you and prescribe you these pills that are horrible for your body to process, that are no good for you in any way and don't actually fix the problem whatsoever. They're just band-aids. They make you feel numb, and they talk about SSRIs and antidepressants making you no longer depressed, but that's not the truth. They bring you up from being depressed, but in order to bring you up, they also have to bring your highs down. It makes you feel numb. They turn people into zombies. I'm sure that every single person who is listening to this or watching this knows someone who is on, these medications and knows how poorly it's affected them. Over years, like, it rots your brain. Like, it literally rots your brain. It destroys you. And that's what these festivals and these communities are for. It's for a healthier way of understanding the way that things work. I'm quite an advocate for the use of psychedelics. I don't necessarily push them onto anyone, but as someone who went down that rabbit hole for a very long time, and helped fix a lot of the issues that I had, going back to being a younger version of myself. I had severe allergies. I had severe asthma. I couldn't eat anything. I was, I think 53 kilos at the age of 25 at the height of 6'2". I had a lot of issues. I was one of these people who would be the perfect candidate to end up hooked on the pharmaceutical train. You know what I mean? But through meditation and the help of these medicinal tools, I was able to go inward and discover that a lot of my issues were simply related to trauma. They were related to poor belief systems. They were related to, and when I say poor belief systems, I mean growing up and listening to other people and taking their advice and making it your own, right? So, belief systems are a very important thing that I work with. Which is the whole purpose of this show. It's redefining spirituality. It's about questioning everything. And as I said, at Esoteric and even all these other festivals, it's all about learning and discovering yourself. You put into really challenging situations which are going to face you with yourself, and put you around people who are always willing to help you and to go out of their way to help you heal and understand you and give you a space where you can be heard. And as I said, not to get too conspiratorial, but I absolutely believe that this was one of the pretenses for cancelling this festival. I believe that, these festivals pose a very, very strong threat to the current way that Western society is being run. It's given people an out. It's given people hope again. It's teaching people how to love themselves. And yeah, I believe that it's become a very big threat. But at the end of the day, love always wins. These places are all about love. It's all about self-love. It's about community. It's about connecting with one another. And, love is the most powerful force that is out there. And it's free. And that's the most important thing. And I know that as long as it is free, which it always will be, it will always prevail. And people really care about one another and the healing of the planet. It's becoming more and more prevalent, and I do believe that this current run that we've been going for since the last 50 years is really running its run. Like, just on every aspect. Like, look at how things are evolving. It's been very sneaky the way they've done it. Like, first of all, back in 2010, let's say, like Spotify and Netflix was kind of like introduced, and it was, these amazing things. It was, you pay $10 a month or something like that, and you get access to like an unbelievable amount of film and video and music and television series. And it was the obvious choice. And very, very quickly, over a very short amount of time, CDs became obsolete, DVDs became obsolete, and you could have everything on your television straight away. But, slowly but surely, like before we noticed it, all these competitive services came through, and they all have their own things. And now, we're paying for a streaming service, which can cost between $15 and $30 a month for music. We're dealing with, Netflix, which is, I don't have any of these services because I don't like supporting them, but Netflix, might be like $20 or something. You've got Stan, then you've got Disney Plus, then you've got Crunchyroll, then you've got Amazon Prime, and you've got all these different things. And just to watch anything that you want, it's chaos now. not that I believe in stealing, but it's impossible to torrent things anymore. More and more musicians and bands, they're not releasing CDs because there's no profit in it. And as the was it the New World Order that said it, you will own nothing and you'll be happy. And people truly believed that. So we're going through a very, very difficult phase where we're having our own belongings essentially stolen from us. Look at the housing crisis that's happened. We had the economy crashed due to a particular virus that came out that you needed to be tested for to know whether you actually had it or not. Everyone was forced to work. Everyone was forced to divide. Everyone was forced to be stuck on their own and turned against one another. We were then, not allowed to work. We were then, had the economy crashed, came out of it, and now inflation's through the roof because all the banks gave all their money away and had to increase inflation. So now no one can afford to be a homeowner anymore. Interest rates went from 2% to 7 or 8%. Food's through the roof, petrol's through the roof. It's so difficult to get by now, and everyone's renting prices going through the roof, food's through the roof, petrol prices through the roof, insurance is through the roof. Streaming services are getting more and more expensive. Everything is just more and more expensive, and people are getting more depressed, more stressed, more anxious. Suicide rates have gone, ballistic as well because of all this nonsense, and people are not happy. They're simply not happy. And, due to this, they're questioning what's going on. They're questioning the narrative. They're not happy with the way that the government has handled things. And slowly but surely, people are learning to rely on themselves. They're learning to go inward. They're learning to love themselves and, how to provide for themselves, grow their own fruit, grow their own food, try and escape the system in some way that they can. And as I said, like these spiritual and psychedelic communities are a place where people really connect. Like they bond with people so drastically that it has ultimately become, the spiritual movement has become the ultimate threat to Western society. It really has. And so, yeah, it begs a larger question. And again, I might just be acting like a conspiracy theorist and might be completely wrong. Maybe there were some things that were happening that had to be cancelled and people were in danger, and the way that the Western society has gone is just a natural progression, and we're all contributing to it, and it's just the natural way of the future, and that we should trust the government, and that owning nothing will make us happy. But instinctually and deep down, I don't really vibe with that. I feel quite confident in my beliefs. And, so, this begs the question moving forward, what do we do? And, this is why I'd like to talk about the art of manifestation, which is, one of my favorite things to do. And basically, the way to wrap a head around this, because this is going to sound very counterintuitive to the way that, people generally live their lives. It's a very, what's the word for it? It's a bit of a paradox. But, it all comes down to belief systems, like I mentioned before. Belief systems are everything. People believe that, things happen and you look outside and you believe whatever you see. But it's quite the opposite way around. It's your beliefs that actually manifest reality. What you believe in is what will manifest the things that you experience. The first rule of manifestation is you get what you focus upon. That is the whole thing. Whatever you focus upon is what will happen in your life. Now, a lot of people like to kind of debate this. They go, oh, well, there's certain truths and there are things that are false. And, on a mass scale, that is true. There is individual belief and there is mass belief, right? There's also certain limitations within our world. We live in a third dimensional physical reality. Therefore, there are physical limitations to what we can do as humans. On top of that, there are certain what we refer to as dramas or challenges that we all go through. Now, I believe in reincarnation. I also believe in, the fact that we incarnate into this existence to fully experience the human condition. That is the whole purpose of it. The entire point of human life is to experience what it is to be human. It's to push the boundaries and explore physical reality in order to aid in the expansion of consciousness. That is what the purpose of life, the purpose of human life is. It's to experience being human to the fullest capability to help aid in the expansion of consciousness. Now, in saying that, the reason I say we have a reincarnational cycle is because, simply put, you can't get enough experience out of just one incarnation. It's so limited. What you're here for, like 70 to 100 years, most of it spent fumbling around like most people who, like incarnate, go to school, graduate, work a shitty job and watch TV for the rest of your life getting takeaway meals. Those aren't very good existences. That's kind of like a waste of an incarnation. But getting into bigger terms, like we have an infinite amount of incarnations depending on what we wish to achieve in this reality. It begs the questions as to why good and bad things happen to, on a very large scale of things. There are only certain things that you can experience from being a king, right? There are only certain things you can experience from having everyone doing everything for you and ruling a city or ruling a country. And, there are certain things in that incarnation that you can't experience, which you could experience, for example, being homeless in the 15th century, right? We're here to experience being human. That's the whole point of it. That's why we incarnate. And once you understand that that is the reason for incarnation, you understand that there is larger things at play. We have a higher self. We have an entity. We have a larger connection to the source of existence itself. It could be called spirit, it could be called God, it could be called all that is. There are many names for the gestalt of consciousness from which we all stem from. But the truth behind everything is that we are gods in human form. We have incarnated into physical reality to experience what it is to be human, and we actually have a lot more power than you could ever imagine. And this is what we use manifestation from. Manifestation is our way of manipulating physical reality to the way that we wish. And the way that you manifest things is through your belief systems. Now, when it comes to belief systems, this is where it gets tricky. Because again, most people, believe that, let's say they believe in science. We use science for an example. Whatever science says, they believe. They tell you that, a man can't fly. You believe that you can't fly, which is a very valid thing. But the truth is that man hasn't learned how to fly yet. It hasn't been proven yet. It hasn't been figured out yet. There are stories of Buddhists and monks who have learned how to levitate, which I fully believe in. But the truth is that there are no limitations to this existence. We just haven't discovered them yet. If you went back to 1600, right? And you told, a plebeian or whatever that, at a certain point in the future, we'd have this electronic device in our hands, such as the phone, which somehow connects to a thing called the internet, which is invisible, which connects us to over 2-3 billion people worldwide at any given moment, that has access to almost any bit of information we could possibly want, that we could contact someone and speak to someone on the other side of the planet instantaneously, take photos, take videos, download applications, create new applications and artwork, and not to mention, say, like artificial intelligence and all these kinds of things, that would be arguably more not believable than the ability of learning how to levitate or fly. It just simply is where we were at the time and the current beliefs put in place. Now, that's a pretty extreme example, but my point being is that nothing is impossible. It just hasn't been discovered how to be done yet. And so let me drink some water real quick. So going back to belief systems, the way that these work is that your reality will follow what your beliefs are. If you believe that the world is a grim place, a horrible place where there's sickness everywhere and there's viruses coming to kill us and everyone's out to get us and, everything is horrible, that's what you're going to experience. The mind has a very powerful way of seeking patterns. There's a really good video of Tony Robbins and Theo Von where they're talking about, pattern seeking. And I think Tony Robbins tells Theo to look around the room or something, and I think he says to like count how many green items he sees or something, and then tells him. And then he goes, all right, next up I want you to like look around the room and tell me how many red items you find. And Theo looks around the room, comes back and he says, I counted this many. And Tony Robbins goes back and says, okay, well, how many of those items were actually red and how many of them were, possibly a bit more brown or maroon that you just told yourself they were red just for the fact that you wanted to get a higher number. And he goes, yeah, there were quite a few. And he goes, see, when you actively seek things that aren't true, you're going to believe them. And you're going to convince yourself that these are realities for you. And it's the same with the way you view the world. If you believe the world is a horrible place, you're going to seek horrible things. If you believe the world is a beautiful place, you're going to seek beautiful things. Now, I'm not saying that being a relentless optimist does not means that you're not going to experience negativity. Like, negativity is a part of growth. It just means that you're going to be able to identify negativity as being a challenge, which results in the manifestation of reward. This is something that I've personally been through a million times. If I'm ever feeling, depressed or anxious, I know that it's not a case of me having a mental disorder. It's a case of my soul and my mind telling me that there is a challenge ahead of me. If I'm feeling depressed, I ask why I'm feeling depressed. If it's because of my job, then it means that I need to change my job. If it's because of a relationship, it means I need to get out of the relationship. If I'm feeling anxious about something, it means that I need to change a situation. And when you face your depression and when you face your anxiety on these issues, the result is always significantly more abundant and beautiful than you can ever imagine. And this is something that I work with very heavily, like the use of manifestation, the use of, utilizing the way that you feel to navigate your life. Excitement, joyfulness, love, all of these things, happiness. These are your north compass. This is your compass pointing north of where you need to go. Depression and anxiety are, the southern end of the compass telling you the opposite way you need to go. If you're feeling anxious and depressed, change up what you're doing. That's what your mind and your body is trying to tell you to do. If you don't change things up, your body's going to begin doing things. It's going to start manifesting sicknesses and illnesses to force you to shut down until you have to pay attention to yourself and figure out what the issue is. This is the way that this works, but people don't get taught this. They get taught to take medications and to fuck their body up, excuse the language, and, to be hooked on this pharmaceutical industry. But people are waking up and the powers that be do not like it. And that's why we're seeing so much, chaos in the world. They're trying to hold on to the power, but people aren't interested anymore. They're interested in love and self-love and spirituality and community and, the growth of the species, the growth of one another. So how do we change our belief systems? That's the main one, right? Now, the way that this works is again, your beliefs will form the reality you experience. If you believe the world is a bad place, you're going to experience the world as a bad place. If you believe the world is a beautiful place, you're going to experience the world being a beautiful place. But the way that this works is that, we've grown up our whole lives, right? We've been through horrible experiences. Someone close to us may have died. It may have rocked the boat of beauty. May have lost a parent. Our parents may have split up. We may have been relentlessly bullied. We may have, been through some really, really horrible experiences that shaped us in a really terrible way, which led to a series of poor decisions for the next 20 years that led you to a place where you don't know how you got there. Now, at this current point in time, you are solemnly convinced that this is how your life is. You are solemnly convinced that this is how things are. And I've been through this before. Like, as I said, I used to be borderline anorexic. I used to be allergic to everything. I used to have so many issues wrong with me, right? But the way that I changed that is I said to myself, like, why is it that I can't gain weight? Why is it that I'm always sick? Why is it that I have asthma? Why is it that I have to, not participate in, certain physical sports because my body can't handle it? Why can all of my friends do these things and, experience life on this wonderful level and I can't? Why is that? And the answer was that there is no reason. There is no reason this should be happening. We're all comprised of the same atoms and molecules. We all share the same consciousness, right? We all breathe the same air. Why is it that I can't do what these other people are doing? And it's simply because of my belief systems. My belief systems is that I was broken, that I was unwell, that I was prone to asthma and allergic reactions and all these things. But the truth is that it was not true. And so I began to change my reality. I chose to change my beliefs. I started telling myself things like, like these allergies don't serve me, right? I stopped saying that I was allergic to things. Even when people started asking me, because I used to have this like anaphylactic reaction to peanuts and all other nuts as well. I'd be at a restaurant or someone would ask if I have any allergies. I'd be like, no, I don't. Because my self-talk is just important, and the way that you project your self-talk is important. I stopped telling people that I had these things, or at the worst case scenario, I'd say I'm overcoming them, or I used to, or I'm slowly getting over it, or, putting a positive message behind it for myself of, we have a destination with this now. I'm not just a victim to this, like we are getting over it or we are over it. And slowly but surely, I've alleviated myself from all of the setbacks that I had. I'm no longer allergic to anything. I'm healthy. I used to suffer from, I'd play basketball for 15 minutes and I'd have asthma attacks. Now I climb trees for a living. Do you know how difficult that is? It is insane. But these things can all happen, but it does take time. You can't just change a belief and these things happen immediately. The best way to think about it is that you've currently been on a certain train of existence for a while with your beliefs. So you believe that, the world is, an unhealthy place, that, you can't earn more money, that you have allergies, that you have anxiety, that you have depression, that, the world isn't nice and that people don't like you and, that you can't lose weight and that it's too difficult to go to the gym and that you have no motivation and you're not creative and you have all these issues in your life. All you have to start doing is going against it, figure out who you want to become, think about it, meditate, journal, write about the person you want to become and the world that you want to live in, right? Start talking about, I'm going to become this super healthy person. I'm going to get super athletic and, people are going to be really attracted to me. I'm going to become, a sexy human. I'm going to become confident. I'm going to become, super creative and loving and be able to communicate the ways that I want to. I'm going to wake up and enjoy life. I'm not going to feel depressed because there's nothing to be depressed about. I'm not going to feel anxious because there's nothing to be anxious about. I don't need these medications that I'm on. I love my job, or at least start working toward finding a job that you love. And the more you tell yourself these things and the more you give yourself these affirmations, the momentum of the reality that you are the momentum of the reality that you are currently on will slow down, and the momentum of the reality that you're beginning to manifest with these beliefs will begin to pick up. And before you know it, there will be significant changes in your reality. Because as I said, we are pattern seekers by nature, right? And, every thought and every emotion has its own electromagnetic frequency and pulse that projects in a non-physical way that actually attracts certain events into your life. The more you practice this and the more you manifest and the more you get creative with this manifestation, you'll begin to learn that you can almost manifest any event that you want. You'll begin to predict the future, or not even predict the future, but begin to create your future for yourself. You'll begin to create opportunities for yourself. You'll start dreaming about things that are very particular. You'll start having more deja vu, which is the act of reality manifesting a thought form or a dream form that you would put into place. And things will just start becoming to make sense, and you'll start to really, become in line with your psychic heritage. You'll begin to understand your power as the God form. You'll begin to understand the way that you do project into physical reality. You'll begin to realize all the different portions of the self that you're actually connected with, who are actually here to have fun, right? This existence is meant to be fun. Look at the world. It's beautiful. Like, you go outside and there's trees that create fresh oxygen that we get to breathe, that enters our body, enters our cells, and feeds our body. There's animals, birds, music. There's so much creativity and enjoyment and fun to be had. The world isn't meant to be difficult. Life isn't meant to be difficult. It's meant to be very beautiful and very exciting. And as I said, you have all come here to incarnate into the human condition, into the human form, to explore physical reality in order to aid in the expansion of consciousness. That's what it's all about. Aiding in the expansion of consciousness, finishing our lives, going back to being an entity into our multidimensional reality, and using the creativity that we got from our limited experience on Earth with our certain challenges and limitations that created new opportunities, new challenges, new difficulties that we had to overcome, and use that emotional content to create as gods. That's the entire point. That's why we're here. It's fun. It's meant to be fun. It's always meant to be fun, and it always has been. So again, we're all here to aid in the expansion of consciousness. We're all here to have fun. All you have to do is start changing your belief systems, start manifesting a more beautiful reality for yourself, questioning why you're depressed, questioning why you're anxious, and confronting yourself with it. I know it's not easy. It's one of the most difficult things you can do, to sit with yourself and but assess the thing that is causing you the most mental grief, but to focus on it and find a way out and to utilize that as the challenge. You'll grow so significantly as a person. You'll grow as an individual. You'll grow as an entity, and you'll be able to affect the people around you in such a more beautiful way than you ever have been. And opportunities will begin arising for you. Amazing things will start manifesting, and you will fall in love with being human. Promise. So that's the end of this one. Sorry for getting a little conspiratorial, but I hope it all kind of began to make sense toward the end of it. Again, my name is Brennan Mark Van Wichen. This is the Redefining Spirituality podcast. Forgot the name of it for a second. This will be posted on Spotify, YouTube, and whatever else I can get it onto. And hope you enjoy. Please subscribe, please like, please share. It means a lot. And I'll catch you again very soon. Peace out.